You know someone who does this. Maybe it's you. When something hurts them, they don't yell. They don't cry. They don't argue. They just go quiet. And everyone around them assumes they're fine, or cold, or don't care anymore. But what's actually happening inside is something most people completely misunderstand. And if you've ever been that person, what I'm about to explain will finally make sense of why you do it. Here's what people get wrong about silence. They think it means you have nothing to say, that you're shutting down because you're weak, or passive, or emotionally unavailable. But silence isn't empty. It's full. When someone goes quiet after being hurt, it's not because they don't feel anything. It's because they've learned that speaking up costs more than staying silent. Think about it. You've tried to explain how you feel before, and what happened? You were misunderstood, dismissed, told you were overreacting. Or the other person got defensive and turned it back on you. So your nervous system did what it's designed to do. It protected you, not by fighting back, not by running away, but by freezing, by going quiet, because silence feels safer than being heard again. This isn't avoidance, it's survival, and it started long before this moment. Most people who go quiet when they're hurt learn to do this early. Maybe you grew up in a home where emotions were inconvenient, where expressing sadness or anger meant you were being dramatic, where the adults around you couldn't handle your feelings, so you learned to handle them alone. Or maybe you tried to share what was going on inside, and every time you did, it backfired. The person didn't listen. They corrected you. They told you what you should feel instead of hearing what you actually felt. So you stopped trying, not because you stopped feeling, but because the cost of being vulnerable became too high. Over time, silence stops being a choice. It becomes your default. Your body remembers that speaking up leads to pain, so it shuts that pathway down before you even realize it's happening. You're sitting there with so much to say, and nothing comes out. Not because you're emotionally immature, but because your system is protecting you from a threat it learned to recognize. And here's where it gets complicated, because to everyone else, your silence looks like indifference, like you don't care, like you've checked out. But inside, you're anything but checked out. You're replaying the conversation, analyzing every word, trying to figure out what went wrong and whether it's safe to say anything at all. People who withdraw aren't emotionally distant. They're emotionally exhausted. They've spent so much energy regulating themselves, protecting themselves, that they have nothing left to give outwardly. And the cruel irony is that the more they withdraw to stay safe, the more isolated they become. You might notice this in yourself. One day you're warm, present, engaged. The next day you're distant, not because you're playing games or trying to manipulate anyone, but because connection takes energy. And when you don't feel safe, that energy runs out fast. Withdrawal isn't rejection. It's your body saying, I need to conserve what I have left. But here's what silence costs you. Yes, it protects you from immediate conflict, from being misunderstood again, from the vulnerability of being seen, but it also keeps you from being known. Really known. Because intimacy requires expression. It requires risk. And the longer you stay quiet, the harder it becomes to speak at all. Silence becomes your identity. The quiet one, the calm one, the one who never causes problems. And on the surface, that might look like strength, but underneath, it's loneliness. Because people can't connect with what they can't see. And if you're always hiding what you feel to stay safe, No one ever gets close to the real you. The trade-off made sense once. Silence kept you from getting hurt, but now it's keeping you from being loved, from being understood, from experiencing the kind of connection you actually want. And that's the painful truth no one talks about. Survival strategies that once saved you can eventually trap you. So what changes this? Not force, not someone telling you to just communicate better, not pressure to open up before you're ready. What changes this is safety, real safety. The kind that doesn't require you to perform or explain or justify your feelings before they're accepted. Safety looks like someone sitting with you in your silence without making it about them, without taking it personally, without demanding that you speak before you're ready. It's someone saying, "I see that you're struggling, and I'm not going anywhere." That's when the nervous system starts to relax. When the freeze response loosens its grip, not because you're forcing yourself to talk, but because the environment around you has changed. And here's what you need to know if this is you. You're not broken. You adapted to survive, and that adaptation was intelligent. It kept you safe when nothing else would. But you don't have to stay in survival mode forever. Healing doesn't mean becoming someone who never withdraws. It means learning that silence can be a choice instead of a reflex, that you can speak when you want to, not just when it feels safe enough. Start small, with people who've earned your trust. In moments when the stakes are low, practice saying what you feel without needing the other person to fix it or agree with it. Just practice being heard. And notice what happens in your body when you're met with curiosity instead of judgment. That's how the pathway reopens. Slowly, carefully, at your own pace. If you go quiet when you're hurt, you're not cold. You're not emotionally unavailable. You're protecting something tender inside you that's been mishandled before. And that protection made sense. It still makes sense. But it doesn't have to be the only option anymore. You deserve to be in spaces where your silence is respected and your voice is welcomed, where you're not rushed or pressured or made to feel like your feelings are too much. Those spaces exist. And the more you recognize your own pattern, the more you can start building toward them. Please listen to this for a second because this is important. If you are the kind of person who wants to understand how your mind actually works, not surface-level tips, but the real psychological patterns that drive your habits, your confidence, your discipline, your relationships, and your future results, then subscribing here is not entertainment for you. It is a decision to train your thinking every single week. So hit subscribe now and stay here, because every video is designed to help you take control of your mind and start living at a higher standard, consistently, deliberately, and on your terms.